The Gospel of Matthew. In the first message, I'm making a point. The Spirit says so much in the first message. He ignored my point. He kept on looking. So I'll try it again. John says many false prophets have entered into the world. Satan is called not just a deceiver, he's the deceiver. You need not look very deep to find out how effective he is. He sold the world, not the world, the church world. He sold the church world and the idea that Christ was born December 25th. When the record of God says Christ was 33, half years old when he died. He died at Passover on the 14th of Nisan, which falls in March or April on our calendar. It was March. We come back 6 months for the 1/2. He gets his birthday sometime in September. It was April. Then we come back 6 months, 1/2. October. It's a known fact. And to this very day, shepherds stay out in the fields at night and watch their flock. Not later than October 15th. That's simple math, isn't it? Nothing complicated about that. And yet he sold the world on the idea he was born December 25th. That's a sharp deceiver. You agree? Mm-hmm. Another one we looked at 3 times. Just recently, because the season just passed. Easter. The Savior said, I'll be in the grave 3 days, 3 nights. Take the substitute of this, having him die on Good Friday, resurrected Easter Sunday morning, which is less than 48 hours. Christ said 72. For the whole church, celebrating Good Friday, Resurrection Sunday, what have you. All the times are off. The most notable day for this event, Saturday, or the Sabbath, the day historically God does all his great works. Satan's formula managed to leave it out altogether. He totally bypassed Saturday. I mean, it's a known fact, pretty much, that Friday is a world's day. Right? Friday night is the world's night. Correct?
That's right.
More folks go out partying on Friday night than they do on Saturday night. That's just the way it is. So Satan takes the death of Christ, pushes it with Friday, bypasses the Sabbath altogether, then celebrates Sunday for his resurrection. Two examples. The third is much more subtle, what God gave to us. It's probably the most powerful one. False prophets, make a note, do preach about Jesus. That's why it's so hard to discern by the typical believer. But they preach about Jesus the wrong way. It's in the first message. They preach what Jesus did, how he did it, when he did it, where he did it, to whom he did it, why he did it. You can preach about Jesus until you're blue in the face if you're preaching from that perspective. But all the stories about Jesus in the Bible have one particular purpose. They're all meant to tell who he is. He's the only man, to my knowledge, who went to court, was arrested, went to court, based on who he was. His whole trial, he had two trials. One, before the Sanhedrin court, consisting of 70 Jewish members. It's a little known fact that the Sanhedrin court had one particular purpose. They were to take a case with the objective of finding the person innocent. That's how that was their role, to find them innocent and not guilty. They weren't legally allowed to meet without all 70 members present. We know that two of them were missing. Joseph of Arimathea was a member. He was missing. He wasn't informed that there would be a court trial. And Nicodemus, the ruler who came to Jesus by night, in the 2nd and 3rd chapter of John, he was missing. Finally, the third major violation is that they could not hold night court. They held court on him at nighttime with two members missing and found him guilty. But the high priest, the one who presided over this particular meeting, Caiaphas, he asked one question, one key question. Art thou the Christ? That's the issue. And the word Christ again is not his last name, Jesus Christ. But Christ means, are you the anointed one? Are you the Messiah? Are you the one the Old Testament scriptures talked about that should come? Are you him? So again, the issue, who are you? The second trial was held by Pilate, representing the Roman government, because the Jews didn't have the right, the power to put somebody to death. Only Rome could. So they had to get his trial into Rome's court, which Pilate presided over. Pilate hit the same question. Art thou the King of the Jews? Again, the issue is what? Who are you? All the Bible stories in the Gospels are meant for one purpose, to show who he was. That's why John hits it on the nail and he says, anybody who confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh, or that Jesus Christ came from heaven, and it was deity, he's of God. Anyone who does not say that is not of God, and all these ways of preaching Jesus do not include deity at all. He's a good man, great healer, great teacher, humanitarian, so on and so forth. They don't preach who he is. And that's why it's so subtle for somebody to preach about Jesus and never talk about Jesus. Do the challenge. Turn on your TV today. Turn on one of those religious stations. Listen to the message they preach. They do not preach about who he is. Spirit of Antichrist. I got a story here in the 8th chapter, the 7th chapter of Matthew. Take a look at it. Verse 21. Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. Hang on, stop reading that stuff. This expression is an expression of deity. If you look at it without the capital L, it can mean serve. But here, it's a divine title. This throws everybody out the basket. He said, not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father, which is in heaven. Many will say unto me, we've been trying to define this word, many. He said, many false prophets are coming to the world in the last days, and shall deceive many. You got a world population in excess of 7 billion people. I don't think personally that 50 million qualifies as many. To qualify as many, they had to have at least a tenth of the world's population. Now less than 70 million followers. Jesus said, many shall come in my name and shall deceive many. I feel personally, and I have no Bible for it, no numbers for it. But I feel personally that to be qualified as deceiving many, you should be deceiving at least 1 billion. That I can do with it. I mean, 70 million is not even the population of the United States. If you deceive the whole country, United States, you have not deceived many people. Not in the background of the world population. I think the population of our country is just a little over 300 million. I know more accurate figure?
430. 330, yeah.
330 million. That to me is not many compared to 7 billion. Right? We can say safely it's going to be a lot of it. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? Then in thy name have cast out devils? Then in thy name have done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. You talking about disappointment on a mass scale for somebody that they're going to go to heaven, and they're told by the one who gives them entrance that I never knew you. Now I don't know you. I never knew you. You ever meet somebody who says they know you, and you know they don't? They're going to convince you that they do, and go further now and convince you that not only do they know you, but you know them. I might get to a conversation with somebody, and they're going to make me know somebody I don't know. You know so-and-so, I don't know him. You know, the one that started all kinds, I said, I don't know him. And if I meet him, then somebody just forgot. So then let me meet them. Then I meet the person, and I can say the same thing, I don't know you. Had a fella come to my car one time I was parked at a liquor store. I couldn't put a gun in my face and accused me of running off with his money. I said, I'm not the one, bro. This you are. I said, tell me about me. So you put money in my hand, and I can come back, then you should know about who I am. How many kids I got? Blank. Well, last time when it happened, you only had one. That's for how long was it? That was about 2 years ago. I said, well, y'all don't work for me. I put my wallet. So my family said, these are my children. And there's more than one. And not a single one in this picture is less than 20. I'm the wrong person. Right? But he was dead sure. He's ready to shoot me. I said, I don't know how much they took from you, but if it's 20 or less, I can give it back to you. I don't want to see you again. Have to prove who I am. We're going to Antichrist on more Wednesday night. Here's the problem here. Take my word for it before we get to the details of the word Antichrist. Antichrist takes on two meanings. Lawlessness and or illegality. He says the spirit of Antichrist is already working. Right now, we're going to go with this definition of legality. They were casting out devils in his name. They were healing in his name. They were doing many wonderful works in his name, but never had the right to use it. They used the name of Jesus Christ illegally. That's why he said, I never knew you. He says in verse 31, only ones who are gone in is he that doeth the will of my Father in heaven. And the will of the Father never encompasses the things they said. It wasn't the Father's will to cast out devils. It was not the Father's prime directive. The Father told them to heal in his name. The Father told them to do any wonderful works in his name. The Father had one commission. That's for them to hear his word and do it. And they did not hear his word. They didn't know his word. They didn't do his word. They did what they thought he wanted without any authority to do it. And that's why he says, depart from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you. Because you never knew me. That's why it's so important. Same book. Chapter 11. Verse 28. Come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me. This group never learned of him. Had they learned of him, they would be doing the will of his Father like he was doing, because they weren't. They didn't know him. He says, therefore, I never knew you. Looking religious. Satan will make you think anybody who's working miracles is of God. And they'd be amazed to find out that God is not in the miracle working business. Jesus talked about Israel. He said, Israel, saw my works. What's that? Miracles. How long?
4 years.
For 40 years. He said what?
Never came to know.
But never came to know my ways. They were clueless as to who God was. So the New Testament got a new program. And it's not this. He expects you to hear His word, and His word will show you His ways. That's His program. And they didn't have His word. And didn't know His ways, and didn't know Him, and used His name illegally and lawlessly. He says, I never knew you. Depart from me. Right? So there's a prime example of scriptures. I'm going to give you a whole lot more. Hopefully, Lord willing, to reveal who the Antichrist is. The name Antichrist is a little bit deceiving, misleading. In our Western world, the prefix anti means against. Still, the meaning is not about the same. Antichrist means substitute, deliverer. The scripture, if I can find it real quick, my time is up. I'll look for it anyhow, though. Take a minute. It's in Hebrews 11. It is. Hebrews 11. Regarding Moses. By faith, Moses, verse 24, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season, esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt. He esteemed the reproach of Christ. Christ wasn't back in that day at all. But here the sense is the deliverer. And he esteemed the reproach of being called the deliverer greater treasure than receiving the treasures of Egypt. So when Antichrist comes, he's against Christ, don't get me wrong, all the way. But don't get it confused, he will be a religious man. Satan has already laid the ground for the entire world. And if it's not God's truth, it's Satan's truth. And so the Antichrist comes along, the easiest part of his job will be to take all the world's religions and merge them into one. And become a worldwide leader overnight. Because the stage is already separated. Right? We'll get into more of him on Wednesday. Right?